All right, so we're back at the whiteboard. Today, I wanted to talk about something that we just, you know what? Most of these are inspired by some things that we are recently experiencing. So I'm going to stop saying that at the beginning. We are recently experiencing this, though, if it wasn't obvious. There's this framework that has been shared with me where somebody said to me, startups most often die not by starvation, but by indigestion. And it was really this idea that like if you're doing too much, you're actually going to end up killing the company. And it's it's been hard to grapple with when exactly to know when you're doing too much. And so I feel like the easiest way for me to think about this is to think about it as like like a diminishing marginal utility or marginal utility graph. And then after that to think about how do you interrogate that graph. So look, obviously, if you're not doing anything, you're not going to have any output. So there is a point at which you need to continue to increase the activities that you're doing in order to actually get new output. So I'm going to use marketing as an example. The more you market your product, the better off you're going to be, right? Now, let's just say you're like a $10 million brand, right? I think and you start with, email, SMS, and Facebook, and you continue to test into various ways to run those types of campaigns, and you continue to see a large amount of outcomes, right? And let's just say you add TikTok and then you see incremental benefit. I think you start to get over the edge if you say like, hey, actually, I want to experiment with TV and with open web and all these other sorts of things. And the reason why your total, so by the way, like of course on like a marginal basis, you start to lose marginal utility over here, but your overall output is still going up. And so it's still a good use of funds. The issue becomes that once you start adding things that are actually not a good use of your time or your money, your total output actually goes down, right? This is like on an absolute basis lower. And so that's a huge problem. And so knowing where like either the slope starts to do this so that your marginal utility is going down or your absolute utility or absolute output is going down is super important. Inside of a company, the way that this shows up is as you grow your teams, if you grow your teams really fast, which is what we were experiencing, you end up in a situation where until it's really clear what everybody is doing, people start to step on each other's toes. And so you have a high amount of activity, but actually the total output goes down. So you actually end up doing less with more people than before, not because there aren't useful activities to do, but like which activities is done by whom is actually super important. So there's like a second axis over here, which is this is like number of activities. And this is like, let's just say there's a z axis that's coming out over here, which is like the clarity of like which activity is owned by whom. That starts to become super important because then actually you can start to find new like output curves or new utility curves that allows you to actually get the most out of every person and every activity that you're doing in the organization. And so the reason I wanted to quickly chat about this for today's session is just remember to ask yourself like, hey, for the resources that I have and for the clarity on who owns which output, am I actually going to be able to increase the total output of the company? And more importantly, am I doing things that allow me to get onto new curves as I continue to increase the number of activities that we are participating in? All right, I'll see you in the next one.